Hello, welcome to the Battle and Barrow Gaming and our continuing series looking at Dungeons and Dragons starter sets. The baton has been passed now to Wizards of the Coast, and they're in their 3.0, 3.5 version of D&D. And so let's see how they do with their starter set. And this is the basic game. That's what we're going to be looking at today. I have a slight problem with this video that I seem to have lost a lot of this. There's no miniatures in here, but they were meant to be miniatures. But what happened is, I'm sure me and my friend sort of pulled our resources of D&D miniatures back together back in the day, and they're gone now. I don't have them. I think he had them. I think then he sold a load of his D&D stuff, and he probably forgot they were mine, and they sold them. So I don't have the miniatures, but that's not a problem really. You can have a look at some of the miniatures there that are in it. We're here really for comparing the rules and how it holds up rather than miniatures. But just to say, it had 12 miniatures in here, so including this little teeny blue dragon. So it had some miniatures, so we've got to take that into account in the last video of what version I think is the best, what gave you the best value for money, and so to speak. But I'm also missing a book as well, which is going to be, and yeah, I'm missing quite a bit. I'm missing the book and the 4 double-sided dungeon tiles. So, but luckily, by the powers of miraculous internets, you can find PDFs of those. So when it comes to that, we'll look at those. So. Okay, let's have a look at the box. As I said in the intro, I no longer have the miniatures, but you did get this blue dragon, which is about yay big. Not particularly big. You also had 12 miniatures, so that was one of them. So I'm only missing 11, which were some skellywags, some player characters. I'm kind of upset that I don't have, what's his name, Rogar anymore, but there were some monsters. Yeah, Redgar the fighter. And I'm missing the dungeon tiles, so I'm assuming that was just during, well, as I mentioned, the pooling. You got a Minotaur, Skeleton, Harpy, Bugbear, and some player characters. So nothing I'm going to be too upset about, but we're going to get into the box. If I can get into the box. I can't get into the box. Great video. Thanks for watching. So I do have this chap left, so you can sort of see it's that era of 2004. They had sort of a miniature collectible game as well, so these are miniatures from there. Somewhat hard plastic, harder than what you get nowadays, a little flexy, but flatly painted, so there's no this and that, obviously you can't really see because I've got my camera fixated down to here. Yeah, so and that what I'm going to do, I do have another miniature actually, I forgot about him. I have the Goblin. He is a, what is he? Goblin. I can read that. Wolf Goblin. I have a Wolf Goblin. So I have 2 of the miniatures. So I'm only missing 10. And also I have, for some reason, something from a Star Wars toy from the 80s in here, which is nice. Oh, and a Hero Crest thingy-majig. Got that in there as well. So that's good. That's something else in there as well. Loads of stuff in here that maybe shouldn't be in here. Yeah, so I'm going to turn it, have this, so I can go over everything we had. So I'm going to have 12 painted miniatures. We've got 2 double-sided dungeon tiles. We don't have them, but we can, by the power of the internet, have a look at them. So okay, this is the first tile of side A. The one thing I would say, especially coming off the back of last video's edition, we are entering the realm of computer generated tiles where you'll see a lot of repetition in sort of the pattern. Not so bad here because I've tried to disguise it with lots of debris, but you will see later on it coming into effect. So this is the flip side of it, and some sort of translucent mushrooms here. Then you have this sort of altar tile here. What that is, it's just these things cut and pasted rotated ground. This is not a style I like. It's adequate, and if I was making my own, I'd probably do the same. But I'm not making my own, am I? I'm buying these. There's that. There's that. You'll notice they're all the same size sort of tiles. They're just not a bad idea. Just something about it. I don't, these cut and pasted skeletons you're going to see here. There's just something about it that just doesn't inspire me really. So that's the tiles that you got in this. Okay, so let's get back to the actual physical stuff. Got one of these again, response cards. I might have a better chance of getting a response on this one because Wizards on the Coast are still going. Might give it a whirl. We got this, which is the read this first basic game sheet. So this will tell you how to set up, place dice, and you want to place place 4 player character miniatures on the squares on the dungeon as shown in diagram below. So we're going to start here with our characters. Place 2 door counters. Get to that in a sec. As shown below. So we've got these 2 door counters here. Put the other dungeon tiles, advanced rulebook, and other miniatures in the back of the box. Next, each player should read through their character book. Get to those in a minute. While the Dungeon Master reviews the quick play and first encounter, which we'll get to in a minute. And that's it. So that's your first adventure. Your first experience is this. I would say people talk about 4th being a bit war MMO-y. To me, the 3rd edition's going that way. I was going very board gamey. Nothing wrong with that. From this channel, I love a good dungeon crawl board game, but this is a role-playing game. It should not be like this. And because they had the miniatures game out and they were trying to do that, it started to go a wee bit like that. So we have this. Now, what's this? You say? Yeah, I hear you say. Well, these are tokens that are used within the game, which I've punched out and split out. So we have things like this, which are healing potion tokens. Treasure chests, so there would be like a chest, and then some of them you'd flip over and they'd be locked. I think you might even have some that are trapped, so you have that one there. So these would just be on your board. You go, oh, there's treasure chest. What is it? Ah, it's trapped. So that aspect I kind of quite like, because that means you could use these, and it depends. The way I do it is it's not like that at all, because you're told where to put these. So you're told to put a lock one there. I'd have it so each game it's different, the chests are different each time, and you just use these as a quick and dirty way of seeing if they're locked or not. Anyway, you have some scrolls here, cleric scrolls, wizard scrolls, boom. Have some equipment here, so this would be like +1 bonus on attacks with 1 weapon. And you have the aforementioned doors, which are pretty much like traps, I believe. I didn't really use this set very much. So are they all doors? No, yeah, so it's trapped and locked stuff in here. I have to admit, so I didn't use this. I didn't go in for this set. I might have really got it for the miniatures, which I don't have anymore. Next up, we have the player booklet. This is pre-gen characters, but don't worry, it's going to be like the 2nd edition, right, where they give you pre-gens just to get you up and going, but we're going to create your own characters in this set, surely. Yeah, don't worry about it. I also told you what miniatures to use in these. So what sort of things does this have? Well, this has, you are the cleric, so it tells you how to use the book, tells you what the dice are. So it's quite nice the rules are split up. I do like that aspect of it, where each player can have one of these if they're new to the game, and they can peruse through this and just get an idea of what's what. So the first 2 sections, if you open the rogue, they're pretty much the same sort of page. It's just going over the same sort of things. Great, that's brilliant. Tells you what a rogue is, what a cleric is, yada yada. It's got the turn order here. So in this, no initiative, it's just set. Rogue, wizard, fighter, cleric, monsters is the order. Determined success. Here we go. Ability checks are roll d20, add any relevant modifiers on your character sheet, which is going to be on the back here. And so if I'm doing a dexterity ability check, I roll d20 and subtract 1 because I'm a cleric. If I was doing a strength check, I'd add 1. So it tells you that there. It tells you it's a bit restrictive. You're not getting any idea on how it runs in a proper game. It's more like a board game. So nothing necessarily wrong with that. Compared to the results, larger than your number provided by your DM, you pass. So, that hasn't changed really since 2nd edition, since the basic box we've looked at. On your turn, you can attack a monster, yada yada yada. So that just goes through all the different things, gives you a rough idea of what you can do. It's like move, cast spells, open doors, search for objects, give items, etc. All just sort of basic actions you can do. Now to attack, you swing your weapon to make an attack as shown on your character sheet. To make an attack, you roll a d20 and add 1. The DM tells you if you hit. Now, I don't know why you'd add 1. Does it say they add 1 here? So this is for the rogue, so no. So what this is, the rules aren't the same per sheet, they're actually quite individual, which is kind of cool. So this is telling you your modifier already. So I'm guessing d20, I'm doing a melee attack, so I'm adding my 1. It's taking that into account in the rules. If you hit, the DM will tell you if you've hit, so that's going to be... we're going across to a different book now to find out if we hit. So this will do. So basically, armor class is 15. You're going to hit if you roll above that effectively. So we're back to, or starting to get, this makes much more sense in 2nd edition. Armor class, higher the number, the better armor you've got. Just makes much more sense. So yeah, you're going to roll 20-sided dice, add your strength modifier for melee, compare it to armor class. That is going to be quite familiar to people in the 5th edition, modern editions. So yeah, that's combat, and that's going to be the same. It's basically the same rules for ability checks as well. Combat is now just an ability check, again very familiar, and it just goes you through rules of opening doors and so forth, all your basic things. And a monster, I'm going to go through what a monster can do just so you know what the DM's doing, kind of like that. But it scores a saving throw. To make a saving throw, avoid certain types of danger such as trap, roll with DM and add the modifier for the saving throw the DM asks you to make. So yeah, on here we're going back to the first set had a load of saving throws, second set had just 1 number. This we're going back up, going creeping up. So we've got fortitude, reflex and will. So fortitude, it says here, is to resist poison. Reflex would be to avoid traps and dragon breath and such, and will would be to resist mental attacks. I'm assuming they mean stuff like magic there. So that's that's okay. So we have pre-generated characters. So that's these characters. They're all pretty much the same sort of books, but they just have a bit more information about their own character within them. So before we move on to the last couple of books, which is the DM book and the advanced rule book, we have this quick start rules. Read character sheet before this. This just goes over pretty much what we've seen in the books. Initiative, so it takes your initiative scores, goes over here. And combat, again, it's going really grid-based combat rather than using it just as a rough spatial awareness thing. It goes through what we've just talked about with attacking and so forth. I mean, that's all this is, just clarifying perhaps cover, line of sight, adjacent range and things like that. Yeah, not really. I don't know what to say about that book. Yeah, so let's now have a look at the DM book. So yeah, this is one of the books that for the life of me I don't understand why it's not in the set. I can't, like miniatures I can understand. I remember pulling them together with a friend of mine. But this and the tiles, I have no idea why they're not in here. Maybe the tiles, perhaps I lent them to him as well. But this, I don't understand why it's not in here, but it doesn't matter. There's a PDF version of it. So it's all full colour, this one. explains about what a DM is here. A bit like how the character books explain what their role was. Explains what you can do. This, I don't know if you're getting this vibe from this starter set, but it is more of a, I know they refer to it as the basic game, but it's more like a board game than a basic game, than a full-blown RPG. So I don't know if this succeeds as a starter set, but anyway, we've gone over this, target numbers, who goes first, yada yada. We've seen this in the player's book. Basically what you're doing, we're not, what I really am here for is the adventures, because the previous set had an amazing adventure, and the first set we looked at had the classic Keep on the Borderlands and Isle of Dread to contend with. So what is this going to do to beat that? So we're going to go to encounter 1. Just entering a dungeon. Oh, alright. Okay. So this is what we talked about earlier on in that little sheet where you set up these doors, put a chest, now some goblins. There's no immersion in background story, it's just here's a dungeon. Get on with it. Okay. There is a bit of fluff here. So you come across Explorer's mysterious dungeon at request of the Council of Elders in the nearby town of Griffinford. Great. So it's trying to get you in there a bit. There's no start up or anything. It's just you've already accepted the challenge, you've already met your party, and you've already entered the dungeon. So I suppose it streamlines it and cracks on with the game. And it does try to be a bit RPG here, where it lets you listen and open the doors, etc. Get some stat lines. I do appreciate the fact that in 3rd edition, again, you could get your stats, enough information to put them within the adventure. That is always good. Yeah, okay. And then we're going on to encounter 2. Rest in between adventures, recover hit points. So again, this is, to me, this is more board game than adventure RPG. I mean, you're setting up the tile here straight away. There's no fog of war or anything. Yeah, you're reading something aloud, but you can do that in the D&D Fantasy Adventure board game, which came out at the same sort of time as this, that you have covered on the channel, done a retrospective channel, and really that handles the RPG in much better than this, really. Yeah, just going through this now with you guys is tedious, so let alone what playing it's going to be like. Yeah, Hero Quest is more in-depth than this. The Haunted Crypt, okay, we're getting spooky. Again, it's just reading something out and letting the players go. It's getting a bit more involved, I guess. But, you know, we're coming off the back of Keep on the Borderlands Isle of Dread and the 2nd edition. This is very underwhelming. Minotaur's Maze. Yeah, so it's the same old, same old. Count of 5, the Gargoyle's Fountain. Next, so that's it for the DM book. So we've got one last thing to look at. Hopefully that might be able to redeem it. And that's the advanced rule book. So hopefully this will... That was just the basics, getting you used to moving, combat. Yeah, this is going to be the one that will take it to the next level and have some character creation in, so we can compare that. So that's what we're missing. It's looking dubious. So don't start here. Fair enough. This is talking about leveling up characters and so forth, and basically advertising different bits and pieces. Players kit, D&D miniatures, and the core rule books. Bit of an advert. After playing this, if this is my first experience, I would not be buying them. I'd be looking for a different game. So we are going over the different races, the same ones we had before, with the same classes we had in the 2nd edition. Skills are introduced in this version, I believe. I vaguely remember. Let's go in over combat again. I think it's about the 4th time we've gone over combat, isn't it, in this set? Really wants you to fight. Exploring the dungeon, ability checks. So yeah, we're going... I mean, it's had stuff like flanking, cover. It's really getting quite tactical. But okay, now we're exploring. So it even has a little A bit like the basic sets does, little example of a game going on here. Here we have, for some reason, in a book, the stat sheets that are looking probably more familiar to D&D players, with your score and your modifier for your abilities, rather than the books here. I mean, this is... But why are they in here? Why are they not separate? That means... Yeah, but this talks about leveling up. This covers leveling up. So I kind of wish these were separate. Maybe an extra page in here somewhere. These should have been in here. It's just... And now we're going... So that's pretty much it. There's not character creation in this, so I won't be able to cover that. And then we're going into Encounter 6, which is worse than the other book because it's in black and white. It's not even presented in colour. It's cheap. It's just cheap. And it's not even that much more advanced. It's just the same old dull adventure. Here, just got some monster stats here. What? And then an advert for the player's kit. Bit about DM help. And then adverts for 3.5. This was, and here's the miniature booster pack. So I sold it's like a miniatures game. So that's this set, and that's it for this video. Might have been able to tell my feelings about this set already. Can they do better with 4th edition? Let's find out in the next video. That's it for this one. Thank you for watching. Until the next time, take care.